Coming up next on Making Moves, JTA tells Clay County residents to express yourself. We'll explain. Nighttime is the right time for the Riverside Trolley, how a new service there is helping alleviate a major parking issue. A downtown landmark gets a makeover, and see the Skyway as you've never seen it before. I'm Joyce Morgan Danford. Making Moves starts right now.
This achievement marks a significant milestone for the JTA's vision of partnering to implement regional transportation solutions that help to enhance the quality of life in Northeast Florida.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Making Moves. I'm Joyce Morgan Danford. Officials from JTA, the Florida Department of Transportation, and Clay County gathered to celebrate the opening of the new Black Creek Park and Ride facility on County Road 220. Enthusiasm at the special dedication ceremony was high despite the less than perfect weather. FDOT District 2 Secretary Greg Evans called the new facility a winning situation for all of the partners.
It's always great to see regional partnering and provide transportation infrastructure and transportation options. This facility serves multiple functions. It is not only a transit connection, it also provides opportunities for carpooling. In today's world of ever-increasing fuel pricing, carpooling allows Clay County citizens to pool their resources to reduce their commute costs. With the second longest commute in all of Florida, this means more money for Clay County families to spend on things they need and enjoy. This also means fewer vehicles on the highways during peak rush hours, which relieves congestion. A win-win-win situation.
FDOT helped fund the project. The facility will be the hub for both JTA's regional commuter express route, the X4, and several Clay transit routes. Earlier that morning, the X4 rolled into the new park and ride facility for the very first time. Several commuters have already parked their cars in favor of the new express service. The X4 makes 2 early morning trips into Jacksonville and then 2 return trips in the afternoon. So you might be asking, why the big deal about a new parking lot with a new transit shelter? Well, as Making Moves' Eugene Lindsay tells us, the Black Creek Park and Ride is the start of what both JTA and Clay officials think will be a regional transportation and government complex.
Yes, that's right, Joyce. Several years ago, commissioners here in Clay County purchased this 30-acre parcel of land, the location they thought was ideal for commuter rail stations. Well, after all, the JTA had been planting the idea of commuter rail as far south as St. Augustine and Green Cove Springs and north into Yulee. But then again, commuter rail stations don't just happen overnight. So out of this partnership came a stepping stone to commuter rail. Commuter bus service with limited stops between Clay County and downtown Jacksonville.
It's important because of regional cooperation, acting as partners. Over 50% of our people commute to Jacksonville to work, and this is another stage, another phase, another level that makes it convenient for folks to be able to get to work and to assist in reducing some of those traffic jams at 5 o'clock that we see along our highways.
For JTA, this new park and ride facility is about expanding regionally and working with partners to ensure better mobility throughout the First Coast.
Their citizens, are having to travel 2 times as far to get to their jobs, to get to the doctor, to get to downtown Jacksonville. That's a need that has to be met. And since we are dedicated to regional transportation, and Clay County is one of our partners, and we want to make this happen. We want to make sure that we meet their needs.
And for people like Mary Marcus, this means a relaxing ride into the city without the hassles of getting behind the wheel.
Well, 17 and also Blanding are parking lots at certain times of the day, and it's very, very stressful. And I think that being able to sit down and read a book, because I lived in New York, I lived in Boston, I'm very familiar with public transportation. And to be able to sit, read a book, and have someone else drive, plus wear and tear in my car is safe, plus when you get the train going, that will be great.
Meanwhile, the hopes of Mary Marcus and others for commuter rail is still a reality. The JTA continues to work behind the scenes with the railroad companies on how to make a rail plan work here. And Clay officials have their own plans for this site too. Two-term Clay County Commissioner Doug Conkey says he would like to see the county build an annex building with perhaps a health department or tax office. So with excitement about the future and the present off to a great start, the Clay County Park and Ride is poised to be a vital link to transportation for a very long time. In Clay County, Eugene Lindsay, JTA Making Moves.
The X4 was not the only new JTA route to debut in Clay County in January. The new Oakleaf Shuttle is also making a splash with commuters in the Oakleaf and Argyle area. Oakleaf launched in early January as the 11th shuttle in the JTA fleet. It serves the Orange Park Mall, Oakleaf Town Center, and communities adjacent to Argyle Forest Boulevard and Collins Road east of Blanding. Regular fares cost $1.50 per trip. Route deviations are available on a limited basis for an additional 50 cents. When veterans leave the military, many times they have difficulty assimilating into civilian life. Some have suffered catastrophic injuries and need recurring medical care, while others must find compatible careers in the civilian world. Well, either way, finding the right transportation can be a challenge, and that's where JTA's new initiative, Transportal, comes in. And here to tell us more about Transportal and how it will specifically help area veterans is JTA's Liz Peak. Liz is the Transportal project manager. And John Markevich. John is currently on the National Executive Committee for Disabled American Veterans. He's also the vice chair of the Duval County Coordinating Board for the Transportation Disadvantaged. So thank you both for joining us. This is an exciting venture. This is absolutely exciting. And I know, Liz, you've been working on it for quite some time. So tell us what it is and what does Transportal do?
Transportal is a one-click website that is going to provide our area veterans and military families with more information on how they can get to and from activities that they need to go to every day. Every trip may be different. So one size doesn't fit all, especially when they don't have their own vehicle. So the Transportal is going to show them all the possible modes they can take to get to where they need to go.
But is it strictly for vets?
It is not. It is designed to serve the needs of the veterans. So the design is for the veterans, but it is a website that's open to anybody.
Okay, so John, how have area veterans and local veterans taken part in this, and what's the response from them?
Well, we've had a number of meetings where we brought in veterans and had work groups and tried to decide just exactly what coverage we needed and where we needed to go for the veterans, where most veterans need to find transportation to get to. And because of that, we wound up expanding the area we initially started with to include the VA hospitals in Gainesville and up in Lake City. We've had a lot of feedback from the veterans. There are some disappointment that they felt it wasn't quite what they thought it should be, and that was just basically an education process because they didn't understand the grant process and the fact that this grant was specifically for creating this one-click center, whereas some had the impression that it was going to be to go out and buy vans and pick up the veterans and take them where they need to go, and we had to kind of overcome that with a little education and let folks know that that was beyond the scope of the grant. And but the positive aspects of it have been felt, and a lot of the veterans are responding in a very positive way.
You know, earlier I said that sometimes veterans have a difficult time assimilating back into civilian life. How does Transportal help them?
Well, a lot of times they come home and they don't have jobs. They're looking for jobs, and they don't have any way to get there. They don't have transportation. They don't have a lot of money when they first get back, and so finding out what transportation options out there is a big benefit, because right now, like if you need to go to Gainesville or to Lake City, all they really know is the DAV provides vans out of the clinic, but those vans are booked full well in advance, and so if somebody needs to get there and the van's full, how do they get there? They either find someone to take them, or they go themselves and drive, or else they just have to rearrange their appointments. So what happens with this system, they'll be able to identify what other means of transportation are, or even just to get to the clinic here in Jacksonville.
Okay, and so Liz, the range of services, what kinds of services are available?
The traditional transit options will be on the Transportal, but we'll also have the Disabled Americans Vet vehicle options, other social service agencies, Amtrak, Greyhound, Megabus, as well as the taxis and other private and nonprofit services that are available throughout the region.
So John, that makes a big difference.
It does, and we also intend, I believe, to incorporate ride sharing and carpooling into this, and so if somebody's going to go to Gainesville, for example, and they let the appropriate people know, that'll be up on the website that they're willing to take 2 or 3 or 1 or however many riders they're willing to take, and that'll be yet another option that they'll be able to find on this website that they would not have otherwise known about.
Okay, and what kind of area are we talking about? Because when you're talking about going to Lake City, going to Gainesville, that's, you know, that's a wide area.
That's 12 counties. You know, and like John mentioned earlier, the original plan was to target the 6-county area, the traditional Northeast Florida area. But when we talked more about this website and how we wanted to tailor it specifically for veterans, design it to serve their needs, number one thing they said is we need to get to the VA hospital.
Right.
So with that, we expanded it to 12 counties. It does take more work, but not so much more work than it did to do the initial 6 counties. So we're really excited. This is going to be a really good program for our veterans, for our military families, and for the entire region.
And you guys have worked so hard on this, and to me, when it comes to fruition, it's that website that really makes it work, and that's www.transportal.net. That's going to be the catalyst for everything. What will they be able to find there?
So there will be, it's going to be like Expedia for ground transportation.
Oh.
So they'll be able to say, this is where I am, this is where I want to go, show me all the options. And it's going to give them the options as well as how long that option is going to take and how much that option is going to cost. So they can make an educated decision with one click on what mode is going to fit their needs for that particular trip.
And John, you sound like you really look excited about this.
It is. It's a very exciting. We've been working on this for over 2 years now, and when the secretary came down and presented us with the grant out at the at the Jacksonville Memorial Wall, we were all very excited about it. And of course, you know, you lose some of that excitement as the time goes on. And now that we're coming down to where it's actually happening, it is a very exciting thing, especially for our veterans in Jacksonville.
Well, thank you both for all of your hard work, especially you, John, you know, giving the insight that we needed at JTA to really make this happen. Thank you both so much, and continued success.
Thank you.
And up next, the nighttime is the right time for the Riverside Trolley. We'll show you how JTA's latest service is getting rave reviews in one of Jacksonville's hottest neighborhoods.
I think it gets people to get out of their houses and to get out doing things, and I think it just really encourages people to shop local, eat local, and kind of just be more of a part of the community.
I just had to come back one last time. You leave home, you move on, and you do the best you can. I got lost in this old world and forgot who I am.
Imagine taking a gondola ride through the canals in Venice, experiencing the breathtaking magnificence of the Eiffel Tower, or riding a legendary double-decker bus through the streets of London. For most of us, these are just dreams that will never come true, but they could. Think about saving hundreds, even thousands of dollars a year by doing one simple thing: parking your car and taking JTA instead. Save money, ride JTA, and make your dreams a reality.
Welcome back to Making Moves. A new pilot program by JTA is getting rave reviews from locals in Riverside and Avondale. It's the new nighttime trolley, which is running Friday and Saturday nights on the first weekend of every month through June. The night trolley was the brainchild of some young Riverside residents who were tired of dealing with the burgeoning parking issues there. And that's where Making Moves' Bill Milnes picks up the story.
Trolleys are not new to Riverside, but they are new to the nightlife of Riverside and Avondale. Despite being one of the most popular and fastest growing entertainment districts in the city, Riverside and Avondale still have a local feel. You won't find a bunch of chain restaurants in these neighborhoods. It's nearly all locally owned and operated businesses. And that's just the way the locals here like it. And for people like Bonnie Smith, the night trolley fits into that vibe perfectly.
I think this is a great thing to have in the community because I think it gets people to get out of their houses and to get out doing things, and I think it just really encourages people to shop local, eat local, and kind of just be more of a part of the community, which is really great, and I think anything to encourage that is a good thing, for sure.
Mike Field was one of the people who approached JTA with the idea of a night trolley service here. Field says getting people out of their cars helps the parking problems well known to this area. But he says the trolley can also help bring people together.
We have some problems around here with parking, and there really is no other way to get around than the drive. And so we want to get people out of their cars, using the trolleys, walking around and enjoying these local businesses we have.
Trolley rider Josh Cobb agrees.
It's fun, good chance to meet new people, it's safe, you don't have to worry about having someone drive home, so yeah, it's great.
Jacksonville City Councilman Jim Love was heavily involved in getting this pilot program up and running, and nearly 1,000 trips were taken during the initial weekend of service. Love showed his support by taking his family for a ride.
We just got back from Lola's restaurant. We had a great meal there, and now we're headed to Bold City Brewery with my family.
While the Riverside-Avondale night trolley is still in its testing phase, Cameron Perry is already envisioning a time when it becomes a permanent part of the fabric of these two historic neighborhoods.
Right now you have to keep reminding people. Unfortunately, I think just do it. But once it's like something like I'm going out, this is obviously what I'm going to do is hop on the trolley. I think it'll be really cool.
In Riverside, Bill Milnes, JTA Making Moves.
Skyway ridership topped 1.1 million trips in 2013. Now the Skyway is about to get an exciting new look just in time for the second annual One Spark Festival downtown. And to tell us more about the big news is Mike Miller. Mike is the Business Development Manager at JTA. Welcome back to Making Moves. First of all, before we even get to the big news, we really want to talk about exactly what you do. Tell us what you're responsible for. You're responsible for bringing in revenue through...
Basically, yeah. I mean, there are really three forms of revenue that JTA and other transit agencies can generate. One is through tax dollars, and of course we do get a good amount, not as much as we used to, but we do get a good amount of that. The second is the fares that we get from the ridership, and then the third is what I call non-traditional transit-related opportunities, and that's the type of thing with advertising on the buses, advertising on our shelters, sponsorships of different events and things of that sort. And I'm responsible for this third leg of that stool, for the non-traditional revenue generation.
And when you talk about that, that is absolutely money JTA would not get unless you were doing that.
Well, unless somebody was doing it, but thank you very much. Yeah, this is above and beyond And we're very happy about it because it seems to be growing. We've seen great growth over the last 5 years in this, and we're expecting even greater growth in the future, which is good because you never know what tax revenues are going to do, and you don't even know what fare revenues necessarily are going to do. We're hoping they're going to grow, but there's no surety to any of that. So that puts more pressure on trying to generate other revenues that are not related to taxes or fare bucks.
Absolutely, a lot of uncertainty. But you know, one thing that we have seen around town is the wraps on the buses. So talk about what could be the future of Skyway wraps.
Well, we're very excited about this because we are now showing the first ever Skyway wrap, which is as part of our sponsorship of the One Spark program. This was something that they and I had talked about for months about wanting to do. We got different designs. I had to have our installers go out and actually measure the Skyways to make sure that we could do this, and everybody came back with a positive reaction to it. So One Spark said, we want to be the first. So that's why we now have this One Spark wrap.
And you know, One Spark was so exciting. It's such a creative time in Jacksonville, and everyone's really seemed to enjoy it. So tell us how this wrap for One Spark all came about. I mean, you guys were talking about it, you looked at it, everybody says this is a good fit.
Yes, and when we first started our conversations with One Spark, last year we were a premier sponsor, and we are again this coming year. We're the Nova sponsor, as it's called. And we put a package together to equal the amount of in-kind service that JTA could provide. We're extending the Skyway hours, of course, for One Spark as we did last year. We're going to be putting up ads in different shelters that we have around town to promote it. And when we found out that One Spark was going to condense in size, it was still going to be bigger than it was last year, but they're going to bring it in somewhat into more of a centralized location. We saw that the Skyway was even going to be more important to the success of One Spark than it was last year, and it was a great success last year. So with that, conversations went about where they came to me and said, well, is there any way we can wrap a Skyway car? Well, we'd never done it before. We had had people come and approach us before, but we had never done it. But this time, through discussions that we had had with Mr. Ford and others, they said, we think it's a great idea, let's go forward.
And you did it. Okay, so is this a one-off for One Spark, or will this open the floodgates for other businesses to take a more serious look at how to advertise on those trains?
We hope so. But we're going to be very selective in who we talk to as far as advertising on the Skyway. The Skyway is iconic. I mean, when you think of icons downtown, you think of the river, of course, you think of the Freedom Fountain, you think of the landing, and you think of the Skyway. And because of that, and because of its predominance in the community, we want to make sure that we have the right kinds of people that would be on the Skyway. So we're looking at hospitals, we're looking at banks, we're looking at large corporations, those Fortune 500s that have their headquarters here or a large appearance. This is the kind of sponsor we would like to see on the Skyway because it is such a unique characteristic.
Speaking of unique, let's remember that it was 44,000 trips taken during that time?
Yes, which was the second largest that we've ever had, and was only exceeded by what we did in the Super Bowl in 2005. So yes, it was extremely popular, and because again of the geographical changes of One Spark, I'm anticipating that we'll be over 45,000 this year.
Well, it sounds good. Now, let's consider another kind of sponsorship, since you're thinking out of the box with everything you do, totally creative, the Stadium Shuttle.
We've run the Stadium Shuttle, of course, ever since the Jaguars came about, and in the years that I've been a part of it in one way or the other, I've often wondered why we haven't been able to attract companies who want to be associated with something that's Jaguars without necessarily having to deal with the Jaguars directly, and nothing against that, but it's quite expensive to become a sponsor with the Jaguars, as we all know. And there are companies that would love to, but they're just not at that economic level where they can. So we look at the Stadium Shuttle as a way to be connected with the Jaguars, connected with the community, connected with the fans. And by the way, these fans, if you think about them, are people who don't generally use our service. These are choice riders, as we like to call them. So with all of that kind of exposure to people like that and to the service, we want to go out and find companies that are looking towards sponsoring at the Skyway, the Stadium Shuttle rather, and letting them own it, so to speak, for JTA. So.
And we've been doing this for how many years, Mike? 20 years?
Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. And by the way, speaking of sponsorship and thinking out of the box, the Skyway service that we're providing for the One Spark program is also on the street right now, as we like to say, for sponsorship. So if there are companies that say, hey, gee, I want to sponsor the Skyway during that, they will be part of all the promotional effort that goes on. Again, a way to be connected to the One Spark program, to be connected with the development of downtown, the revitalization of downtown, and knowing that they're helping provide a complimentary service that we're going to be providing for those 5 days.
Okay, so your mind is rolling. I can just see it. I mean, every time you say something, you're really rolling. You're starting to roll. So what other advertising opportunities do you have up your sleeve?
We've talked to a couple of people about actually naming rights for Skyway stations, so it then becomes their Skyway station. Central Station has got a wonderful location for that, and there are numbers of corporations, banks, and others that are around that area, and we feel it's a perfect fit for a corporation to want to name that station theirs. So it would be the, I don't know what you want to call it, the Acme Central Station for the Skyway. And of course, everything that we have would be named that for Central Station. And we think there are some very good candidates for that, particularly on the South Bank, but also on the North Bank, like Central and Hemming.
So basically, you're saying there are all kinds of opportunities. The sky is the limit. Creativity is certainly the limit.
And I'm also always open for new ideas. If people come to me and say, hey, Mike, can we do this? Sure, let's put everything on the table and take a look at it and see what we can do.
Okay, thanks so much.
My
Mike
pleasure.
Miller, JTA's Business Development Manager. And remember that I can't wait to see it. I mean, we've seen the renderings, but just to see the Skyway wrapped, that's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be exciting.
Thanks again, Mike. You've probably seen the vintage locomotive that sits outside the Prime Osborne Convention Center. Well, it's getting a major makeover. CSX matched a $10,000 grant from Trains Magazine to make the needed repairs to Atlantic Coast Line's steam locomotive number 1504 a reality. The locomotive, built back in 1919, was retired in 1952 and was moved to the Convention Center 34 years later. Last year, the National Railway Historical Society listed the locomotive on its list of most at-risk railroad landmarks. The locomotive was originally donated to the city in recognition of the new convention center being named after Prime F. Osborne III, who was CSX's first chairman of the board. And that wraps up this edition of Making Moves. We're so grateful you took some time to join us. Remember, if you missed any part of the show or just want to watch it again, complete episodes of Making Moves are always available online at jtafla.com and on our YouTube channel, JTA 904. You can also find exclusive web-only content on our Facebook page, so be sure to check it out at facebook.com/JTA Making Moves. For the entire Making Moves team, I'm Joyce Morgan Danford. We'll see you the next time we're making moves.